My name is Michelle. My story based around being a battered woman, addiction, and recovery as well. I was 15 years old when I met my abuser. It was just a regular Friday night. I was a rebellious teenager, partying, drinking, this, that. But it was a Friday night. I was with one of my best friends, and she said, "We need to find a way to party going. We need to find out." So we called up one of our friends who was 16 and had a car and a license, and he lived in my neighborhood, and he picked me up and he said, "I work with a guy, he just turned 21, and I promise you he won't have a problem with it. Let's go." And within 5 minutes we were there. He came out, he was 21 years old, my abuser. I laid eyes on him, and literally, like, the only time in my life that I ever had that feeling of, oh my God, that's my future boyfriend for sure. That's my future children's father for sure. Like, I just knew it. And I never had a feeling like that in my life. I was not aware at this time, nor did I really care, but I couldn't share it with many people because I knew that it would be judged. So the only person that I was able to share it with was with my sister. How I initially got addicted to crack cocaine, because I didn't even know it was a thing. I literally did not know what crack was, had no idea. So what initially had happened was my sister, I asked her to go pick my boyfriend up. So she left at about like 8 o'clock p.m., something like that, to pick them up. An hour went by. They're not answering the phone. We're not back yet. Okay. 2 hours goes by, nothing. Midnight rolls by, nothing. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I grabbed my mom's car keys. I got in her car and I drove the whole 3.5, 4 minutes to his apartment. And I looked through the window and I just saw them sitting there next to each other. In my head, I thought that they were having sexual relations. As a 15-year-old girl, that's just what I thought. But when I caught them, I started banging on the window. They let me in and they said, "Michelle, sit down. We need to talk to you." And I honestly thought that they were going to say, "We're going to be together. We're doing this." But that's not the conversation we had at all. The conversation was introducing me to crack cocaine, explaining to me what it was, and told me that that's what we've been doing. And they put a crack pipe in my hand. And that was the first time that I held a crack pipe. So the first time I tried it was that night that I caught them and at his house. It was just a quick thing. I'm like, I don't feel anything. I don't get it. But okay, let them think that I feel something, whatever. So I'm like, oh yeah, love it. Feels great. I don't know, just making them think that I liked it because I didn't want them to hide from me. That was my whole thing. Don't do it behind my back because that makes me more anxious and and I only did it, like, honestly, I don't know if I felt it or didn't feel it. We were picking up pieces that looked like drops off the bathroom floor, and I don't even think it was. It could have been pieces of soap. I don't know. I didn't care. In my mind, I was spending quality time with my sister that, had been taken away from me for quite a few years due to her addiction because she didn't want to open and show me how severe it was. But it did make me feel closer to her. And that is essentially, I did it for that reason, not for the. So when I was 16 and a half, that's when he got incarcerated for 7 armed robberies. He did spend 18 months in county jail because I didn't mention that he actually is a genius. Like, IQ-wise, his IQ is 165, and I'm not kidding. But being a genius does not necessarily mean that you are smart or that you have common sense, because that's one thing he surely does not have, is common sense. He's very smart, but a normal person would not go and rob. My thoughts at the time of his incarceration was, I need to be here for him because I know that he loves me. And, I had abandonment issues and my father left me. But, I never really considered or thought about any of that. But I felt like I needed to be there for him because I knew what caused him to do what he did. And it was the drugs. So granted, he was sick and I knew that. And because I loved him, I kind of just overlooked it. Even though what he did was wrong, that I was 15 and he was 21, that he introduced me. I mean, it's not like he forced me to do but I loved him enough to do it. And I stood by him. I actually started selling because I needed a way to provide. He was providing for me, and I was too young to have a real job, work. So I was working and making good money while I was doing it. And one day I decided to try one because I couldn't get it. And when I tried it, that was it. I said, I don't need. I literally thought that I found the answer to addiction. I said, I found the answer. It's 80. They work. The whole Purdue Pharma thing. I was the basic if you watch Pink or whatever, that whole situation, that was during my time. That was when I was dealing with it all. And I got addicted to. I barely ever went to school. I would try to make it into school for a couple hours just because I wanted to graduate. I wanted to walk and I wanted to graduate, but I didn't realize how fast the odds went down. So my high school at the time had given me an ultimatum due to my addiction that I go to inpatient rehab 30 days and complete it, and then I'll be able to walk and graduate with the class. Or if I don't, then I'll fail the year because I wasn't even there enough days to complete a year. So they were able to fail me just for the days that I missed. But they said due to my medical condition that they work with me, which is why they gave me the ultimatum. And there was no questions because I wanted to graduate. I really wanted to. So I did it. It was scary. I was the youngest person there. It was just scary. It was just very, I could relate to a lot of people, but a lot of them were a lot older than me. They're like, oh, you're a baby. You got to stop now. And I'm like, they kind of scared me enough that I was able to stay clean outside of rehab for quite some time. They scared me. I was seeing people twice my age, 3 times my age, 4 times my age, pregnant women, it blew my mind. And I was like, oh my God, this is my future. I don't figure this out. That's how I felt. So once I finally completed treatment, they kept their end of, my school kept their end of the bargain by letting me walk to graduate with the class, and I did it. And about 2 weeks or so later, 2 or 3 weeks later, I don't know exactly, in that time frame, he had gotten out of prison or out of jail. I'm sorry, and we had he was getting out. He did 18 months in the county, but he was getting out on house arrest. That was part of his plea deal. So he did the 18 months was served time, but he had to do another. I believe it was another year on house arrest. So he came out right on house arrest. So I didn't really have to worry about him disappearing, going. I didn't have to worry about that. He was kind of babysat. But he was also clean because he was in the program in prison or in the jail. So we were both clean. And of course, when we were together since I was 15. Never had a pregnancy scare, nothing. But we were also using. But at that time, we were both clean, and I must have got pregnant right away. As soon as he got out, I found out I was pregnant, and he was clean because he was on house arrest. So I knew he was clean, and I was clean too. And life was pretty good. We had started a PR marketing firm, PR marketing and web design. We had pretty much all celebrity clientele. He was very good at what he did. Again, he's a genius. But whenever the get into play and he gets back into that, goes back to that person, then he's unpredictable. So when he's clean, he's a different person. I mean, I guess as many people are, yeah. But, well, after my son was born, we stayed clean throughout the pregnancy, both of us. And after my son was born, he was about 5 or 6 months old when his father had gotten off house arrest and had relapsed. I was still clean at the time. I was actually scared out of my mind and shocked. Didn't really know what to do because it was about 2.5 years or so since I had to deal with that. And, I really trusted that he would stay clean. He wasn't able to, and he began, oh, you know what? He actually had a slip up while I was pregnant, and I caught him. I didn't mention that, I forgot. But he had a slip up, and we kind of brushed it under the carpet and let it go. But whenever I would bring it up and say maybe you should see some kind of therapy or counseling or go to a meeting, that's when he first put his hands on me, was when I was pregnant with our first son. And he had a relapse, and I had called him out on it. And he had a wire hanger in his hand, and I just remember he whacked me with it. And then he's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, and I forgave him, and that it kind of stopped for the rest of my pregnancy. And then my son was born healthy at 39 weeks. My oldest son, who's 13 now, he was born healthy. He was born absolutely fine, 7 pounds, 9 ounces, no drugs in his system, thank God. But at home, he was able, my abuser was able to stay clean for a couple more months, 5-6 months, and then picked up again. But this time when he picked up, my son was already born, and he actually went and disappeared for a couple of days. It wasn't just a quick little slip up. He went all out, all in. He would disappear anywhere from 24 to 72 hours, sometimes up to 5 days, and it has been up to a full 7-day week. So he would come home always angry, miserable, all that, and he would just take it out on me completely, to the point that I had packed my stuff and went to my mother's. The abuse was minor until I got pregnant for the second time, and I didn't find out that I was pregnant until I was 17 weeks and 4 days is when I found out. And they said this is what the doctors had told me, that my only choice, because I was 2 days, I'm going to be honest, I wanted to terminate the pregnancy because I was using the whole pregnancy, and I didn't want him to be sick and have all these issues. I didn't know what to expect. I was still only 20 at this time, 20, and I wasn't even 21 yet, I don't think. Or if I was, I had just turned 21. I was still a kid. So when they told me basically my only option is to get on the maintenance program, or they'll take my baby when it's born. So that's when I got on the maintenance, and that's when he became so angry. I mean, the anger was, I don't know why he hated me being on that program so much, because maybe it's because him and I had different, choices, because his choice was, it doesn't have physical side effects. My choice, unfortunately, was, and it did. And I was pregnant, and I had no choice. And it was either, I didn't know anything about him at the time. I mean, my youngest son is 10 and a half. So this is about 11 years ago. I didn't know anything really about methadone, but they said that I have no other choice, so I got on the methadone. The emotional abuse and all that was on a regular basis. Physical and the physical abuse too, but the severity of the abuse varied depending on the situation. Like, he would gaslight things, and like he knew things about me that like would give me panic attacks that I had PTSD from, like just certain things that I already had issues with. He knew, and he would go there and he would talk about, the issues with my father, and talk about just like, the abuse from my stepfather, and talk about like just things that really like just he knew that just killed me inside. And then, we were together, but it was forced most of the time. But what was I gonna do? Like, his favorite was the belt on the palms and feet, like any feet, like wire hangers or belts, because I would hide under the cover. So like when I was home, but like if he could get to me, like he would grab me, but anything he can, basically anything that he was able to, like he would throw, if he was able to grip me, he would throw me down the stairs. He's drove off before I closed my door before. He, in the car. He's, so many instances and so many, like, times that I did call the cops, and then they're like, we're gonna take him to jail, and they would, like, show me handcuffs, and I was like, and he would sit there like, no, don't open, do this. And of course, I'd be like, all right, never mind. And I would drop it. And then back to the scene. It was just a spiral until the day came that I decided I'm taking, this is after, so when I had my son, my youngest, when I had him in the hospital and the social worker came in, and my mom told her about what was really going on, the black and blue and the whippings, like stairs, me throwing me down the stairs, whipping me with wire hangers, his belt, like anything he could find, choking me out with his hands, anything he could do, he would. I did make the decision that my youngest, he was only 15 months old. I made the decision to let another family raise him, and it was a very hard decision. But if I didn't make that decision, then none of us would be alive. Not me, not him, and not his brother. None of us. We'd all be dead. Like, it was the only way that I was able, like, that I would be able to get us out of that. I remember that putting my child in the van, and he was on my hip 24/7. I mean, I couldn't even go to the bathroom without skip screaming. And I will never forget them putting him in the van and him looking at me like, are you coming, Mom? Are you coming? Like, I saw it in his eyes. He was 15 months old. Like, it was just me and him like this. He's looking at me like, well, like, what are you doing? Like, come sit down. I'll never forget that, like, blood-curdling scream from him from when he drove away. I do get therapy twice a week. I do group therapy once a week, and I do one-on-one once a week. And if I could do more, I would. Therapy. There's days that I wake up and I'm angry. And I want to say, I hate these people. But then I feel bad for saying that, because I'm like, how could I hate these people? They're raising my baby and they're loving my baby. So then I feel sadness, and then I feel gratitude some days. And, you kind of go, it's the same. And for losing a child, grieving the loss of a child who's still alive is the same type of grief as a child who is not. For example, my mother lost my sister, her daughter, 5.5 years ago. And I saw her go through the same stages of grief that I went through and still going through, losing my child who was still alive. So there are days she's angry. There are days I'm angry. There are days that I'm very depressed, won't get out of bed, will put my phone on, do not disturb, not talk to anybody. There are days where I feel hopeless, helpless, days where I'm happy that it happened, because I'm like, oh my God, imagine, like if the situation happens, I'm like, oh my God, imagine if I had to drag him through this right now. Thank God he doesn't have to, So it's a lot of ups and downs. It really is an emotional roller coaster. It really is. I feel like one of the lucky ones, but I do have battered woman syndrome. I also have agoraphobia, where there are days I'm literally scared to walk outside just because my anxiety is so bad, because I don't know, to see people watching me. I don't know where I'm at today. But I mean, other than that, my life is manageable. I've been in the same home for 7 years. I've been clean for 7 years. I go to therapy every week, twice a week. I keep up with everything I need to keep up with. And, I am in medication-assisted therapy, which my choice is methadone. For others, there's Suboxone out there. There's other. There's always hope. There's always hope. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, because we're all still here for a reason.